Good evening. Today is June 8th, and today I'll continue to be talking about the coronavirus. So the first piece of news that I'd like to talk about today is that for the first time in 3 months, New York City is beginning to take its first steps out of quarantine and into reopening. New York City has been the epicenter of the pandemic in the U.S. and has been hit the hardest with nearly 22,000 deaths and more than 210,000 cases. The situation has been improving for some time for New York, and new infections are down to about 500 a day, around half as many as there were a few weeks ago, and the daily death toll has hovered around 30 for the last few days. For the reopening, as many as 400,000 workers are expected to return to their jobs in the first phase of reopening, which allows retail stores to open for pickup and resumes construction manufacturing work. There have been a sense of normalcy in New York with people rushing to trains during the morning commute and construction work continuing. The reopening has been complicated by massive protests for racial justice, which have led some business owners to adjust their plans because of looting or damage. Officials have asked protesters to get tested and have warned that residents should still be cautious as the virus continues to replicate throughout the city. There are still hundreds of people that are newly diagnosed with the virus each day in New York, despite the normalcy. But I think it is very good that New York is reopening, as this is just a symbolic moment for the coronavirus pandemic in the U.S. Since the U.S. was the hardest hit country by the virus, and New York was the hardest place hit in U.S., I think it really shows how, as if New York can start to reopen, then perhaps U.S. can be really walking out of this pandemic and starting to reopen and try to retrieve and start to reopen and return to normal. The second thing that I'd like to talk about is that New Zealand have announced no new coronavirus cases, and it seems to have eradicated the virus, along with several other countries such as Iceland. New Zealand is lifting all restrictions on public life, allowing people to remove their masks, shelve social distancing rules, and return to something like pre-pandemic normalcy after a severe lockdown beginning in March and closing its border to almost all travelers. So I think what New Zealand's success means is that a severe lockdown such as this can also stop the virus, but also keep in mind that after all, New Zealand is a country with only 5 million people, and that is an extremely small number. The public must be engaged as well to be able to reach this step. And if there were larger countries such as U.S. or China, this would obviously not be possible, as the entire public can't be working so efficiently as there's more people. The third thing that I'd like to talk about is that 39 of the 40 largest known virus clusters in the United States are in food processing or correctional facilities. This means that the meatpacking plants and prisons are continuing to drive outbreaks in U.S. hotspots. As the number of new cases in the country has plateaued at about 20,000 each day, major clusters have continued to emerge in prisons, jails, and meatpacking plants. So I think this is an extremely important sign in that if we can try to prevent these clusters or try to solve these cases that are happening in these prisons and plants, then perhaps maybe we can stop the virus from spreading in the United States. But this is hard to do, and also I think this is a sign of if you're looking at the numbers of the virus each day in the U.S., you can know that most of them are coming from these facilities, and that overall, I think in the United States, there's not many hotspots where it's in the let's say in the general population, like a coffee shop or a mall or something like that. So I think that's an extremely good sign. That's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.